I want to talk about how you could turn this into this. Viewers discretion is advised. If you're an animal lover and you're already sensitive to this topic, I want to ask that you remove yourself um, because of the fact that this is a hard pill to swallow. Whether we know it or not, the Bible says that we are formed from dust and will return back to dust. And what this is a form of basically cremation if you really think about it. But that's a hard pill to swallow. And if you're an animal lover and you cannot stand the topic of bone meal, I ask that you find an alternative and you can still do this in a different way. Or even just listen very quickly to how you can easily make this if you want. Well, let's talk about this. How do I make bone meal and what is it? Bone meal is phosphorus that is used in the garden. It helps with flowers, it helps with calcium, it helps with zinc, magnesium. It gives the soil back its nutrients. Okay. Now, why does that matter? Well, in order for you to gain fruit, to gain that vegetable that you want to consume, the soil must have its nutrients. It must be fed. And how the soil gets fed is by one ingredient that we use on a monthly or yearly basis is bone meal. Now, where can I get bones? Well, you can basically get bones from anywhere. Basically, uh, I will suggest that you go to your local butcher and ask for any type of bone that they may have, whether it's cattle, which is cows, or beef. You can use goat, sheep. You can use chicken, game, turkey, fowl, quail, fish, any sort of fish or whale, or giraffe, or elephant, or lion, or a zebra, whatever you can think of, it can be turned to bone meal. And bone meal is really a sign, basically, whether we know it or not, it's basically like a cremation of you cremating that animal. Okay, let's keep it real. This may be a topic of it may be rated uh, R, but it's something that we must have to basically have a clear picture of. Why do we use bone meal and what basically vegetables or flowers that it helps with? It actually helps with this. Let's talk about it. One of the ways you can find you some bones is going to your local butcher. Sometimes that butcher may not want the bones that they are basically butchering the meat from. And the easiest bone that you can actually use is chicken, game or fowl, turkey. Chicken bones, I'm gonna be honest with you, are easier to basically grind. Whereas if you're doing a beef bone or pork bone from the leg itself, or the rib cage, it's a little bit thicker. Okay, whereas the drumstick of a chicken or a leg itself is basically easy to break. Now, once you get these bones, whether it is coming from the butcher or coming from the store after you basically purchased the chicken, you ate it, I suggest that basically my suggestion, I'm going to suggest this. I cannot tell you what to do, but to wash it off, only come from you only, and just label it bone meal, put it in the freezer, and start your collection but only from your consumption, not from someone else's, because that's kind of nasty, cross contamination. Don't want that. And once you get your amount of bones that you are going to use, remember this, that it's going to reduce by half. Okay, just remember that. What do I mean by reduce by half? So I took a 1 gallon freezer bag, collected all my chicken bones, and basically it reduced by half and gave me a 1 quart jar of bone meal. And doing this is really a form of cremation. I know I probably said this earlier, but it really is. When you really think about it, it's a form of cremation. But what is bone meal? How can I use it? Basically, bone meal is phosphorus. Okay, bone meal, it helps with calcium. It helps the soil. It brings the soil back to life. Without these nutrients, the soil cannot live. Okay, for you to get a harvest from that fruit tree, from that vegetable that you're eating, from that flower that you want to see blossom. Okay, bone meal is just one of the nutrients that the soil can maintain life. All right, now how do uh, how can I actually do this at home? Basically, you collect these bones, okay, like I did. Then you wash them off. Once you wash them off, I then went and I'm gonna show you what I did. Okay, guys, so I boiled it. That's right. You want to boil these bones to remove any contamination. Okay, at the same time removing the meat that you cannot to get off that bone, and also some of that cartilage. Okay, once you do that, you can either dehydrate them, okay, outside. You can use a dehydrator, or you can put these bones in the oven, like I did. I put the bones in the oven at 350 degrees for over an hour. All right.
The train turns out of railway tracks.
You can even go over longer, but um, viewer discretion is advised. That chicken bones smell very awful at times. It smell like a rotten egg. Okay, so be mindful of that. Any bone you're going to use may have a smell to it in your home as you're roasting it. Okay, so be mindful of that. But you get a nice, basically healthy garden, orchard, food forest with bone meal. It helps again the soil. Okay, once it's dehydrated, that bone turns like white. Okay, very very white. It's going to basically be easier to grind. What can I use to grind it? Well, you can use a porcelain pestle if you want to do it by hand. You can use a spice grinder, or they call it a coffee grinder. All right, but I'm gonna say this to you though: if you're going to use a coffee grinder or even a blender, I suggest that you have a blender for your bone meal, a cheap one if you don't want an expensive one, and something that you're going to use for your everyday use for like a smoothie or whatever. Because sometimes what happens is those bones, okay, can crack the plastic of that blender or the glass. So be mindful of that, because that blade may not be sharp enough. All right, so you want something that's gonna have a sharp blade that can actually crush the bones itself and powderize it and turn it to this. All right. So as you see, I actually did this. You may be saying, NJCali, what vegetables love bone meal? I'm glad you asked. It is rhizome, your tubers, such as turmeric, ginger, potatoes, sweet potatoes, yuca, cassava, sunchokes or artichokes, uh, any root vegetables, again, such as carrots, beets, onions, uh, even your flowers. Some flowers love bone meal. Now, and what does bone meal actually do? It helps with flowering. It helps with giving your bumper crop. It helps with tomatoes where they may get blossom and rot. Because remember, bone meal also has a percentage of calcium. Now, if and you also can get calcium from oyster shells and other things as well. But bone meal is like has a nice amount percentage of calcium in it. Okay, so squashes love bone meal as well. But tubers, your rhizomes go bananas for bone meal because it helps them to produce a mass amount of potatoes, ginger, turmeric, and all those things. So remember to add bone meal when you are growing your tubers. Okay. Now, bone meal has calcium, zinc, and magnesium, and it also has that phosphorus, and the phosphorus also helps with flowering. All right, so you want to make sure before you plant that tuber or that flower or whatever you're growing to amend it into the soil first, and then you want to apply that vegetable. Once you get something like this size, while I'm holding my sweet potato, you want to remove that layer of mulch if you have mulch covering your tubers. Okay, now once you remove that mulch of that you have, whether it's straw, hay, wood chips, patio bark, or whatever you're using, you want to go ahead and add, depending on how large your bed. For this grow 20-gallon, I think it's a 20-gallon. No, this is a 15 to 10-gallon grow bag here. I'm only gonna add probably like a cup, a half a cup of this granular bone meal right here. Okay, now with that being said, you can get bone meal most of the time as a granular. Okay, you'll see it as a granular like this, and the color will be lighter than what you see here. When you're doing this at home, it may come out dark like you see here compared to your store when it's coming like a little bit like the color of sand. Is totally different. All right. I would say also that you may find it as a pellet form. So there are several ways you can get it: grind, pellet form, and they also have a liquid pellet form as well that you can purchase. Yeah, that's right. You can actually use it as a liquid feed as well, guys. So be mindful of that and make sure you use it in your garden. Bone meal will help you get a great harvest. So, with that being said, I'm NJCali, and I say thank you all for watching. Until next time, peace.